So here in Lesson 3, you will need to have Excel Lesson 3 Practice Workbook open. And again, just like the previous lesson, there are 2 tabs in that workbook. There's a practice tab and then there's an assessment tab. You will be following along right now using the practice tab, and then when we get to the end of this, you will fill out the second tab, the second worksheet, which is what is your assessment, which is what your grade will actually be based along. So if you'd like to follow along and practice the steps as I progress through the slides, download Excel Lesson 3 Practice Workbook from your Canvas assignments and use the worksheet that's labeled Practice, and then complete the assessment after you've reviewed the set of slides. So the first thing, so what we're just going to do is learn about how to change a variety of different things within Excel formats, from font size to cell colors, etc. Some really basic things, but that really, once you have realized you can do these in Excel, you're going to be able to develop worksheets that work better for you. So font size. Anything you want to modify, you basically can do it in, there's usually a couple different ways that you can approach it, but the easiest way is just to select the cells that you want to modify. So in this particular case, we want to modify the cells that say fitness progress chart, and so that is the cells that we are going to click on. And we want to make our font size larger in this particular case. So you are going to go up to your Home tab, and exactly like you would in PowerPoint or Word, which you're already familiar with, you are going to find the drop-down arrow next to the font size command, and you are going to select your desired font size. In our example, we want to increase the font size to 24 to make the text larger. So I am going up here, I am selecting the drop-down menu, I am then changing my font to 24, and my fitness progress chart font has gotten larger. You can, of course, also increase, you can decrease the font the same way. You also can just use the increase font size and decrease font size commands that are over here as well. If you would rather do that, then use this drop-down menu. You also can type in the font size that you want if you use your keyboard. So if you want 12.5, or if you want 13, or if you want 29, you can just type that into your button or into your drop-down box and get the exact customized font size that you want. The other thing that you can do is change the font style of your font. So by default, the font of each new workbook is set to Calibri. However, Excel provides many other fonts that you can use to customize your cell text. So you may not like this this font style. It may offend you, so you can change it to something else. So in our example, we are going to take that the title cell that we just enlarged, and we're going to help distinguish it from the rest of the worksheet by changing the font style. So you are going to select the cells that you want to modify. So in this case, you're selecting the fitness progress chart cell again. And now you are going to go to your Home tab, and you are going to find the drop-down menu that has the font styles listed, and you're going to click on the down arrow, and then you are going to find your desired font style. So in our example, we are going to choose Century Gothic as our font style, and as soon as you click that, you will see that your font has changed to the selected font. When you are creating a workbook in the workplace, you always want to make sure you're selecting a font that's easy to read. So things in addition to Calibri would be Cambria, New Times Roman, Arial, those sorts of things. Your spreadsheets in general are not a time to play around with like branded fonts and get cutesy. Spreadsheets are meant for data and data analysis, and so just keep it fairly straightforward and simple. Another thing that you might want to modify is the color of your font. So at this point, it should be fairly straightforward how you do that. You're going to go to your Home tab, where you're going to select the cells that you want to modify. Then you're going to go to your Home tab, and you are going to find the font color option, which is exactly the same as in Word, and select the desired font color. In our example, we're going to choose green. And so we're going to come down here and we're going to go down to green. We're just going to use one of the standard color greens, and it is going to change our whatever text we've selected to green. Again, when you're creating a workbook in the workplace, you are going to want to stick to fonts, colors that are easy to read, and be selective of when you choose to change colors, and really think, is there a purpose behind changing the color of this text? If not, just leave it black. So we've gone over font size, font style, and font color. None of this should be rocket science, because it should all be things that you are familiar with from other software programs. You also could, if you don't like the colors that are being provided for you in those standard colors, you could select more colors at the bottom of the menu, and you can access additional color options. So in this case, go ahead and select a bright pink color, and that green will now go to bright pink. You also could go into the custom tab and put in your branded colors if that is something that is important enough to do for your spreadsheet. So now we have increased it, we've changed the font style, and we should be at a place where we have pink font now. You also may have instances where you need to bold, underline, and italicize certain fonts. So it's the same process. Again, you select the cells that you want to modify. We're still working with the title of our this particular data, and then we go up into our home screen and we say we want to bold it, we want to italicize it, we want to underline it, and then on this drop down menu there are other options too, like strike through and a few other stylistic options. In this case, we are going to select bold, and then that will change the selected text to bold. So now it's pink and bolded. You also can do Control B on your keyboard if you want to do bold. You can do Control U to underline, and you can do Control I to do italics. 3 shortcuts that are helpful to know and use in all Microsoft products. There are other times where, in addition to, or instead of changing font color, you may actually want to change the colors of your cells. You want to fill your cells in with color, or you may want to add borders to your cells and then change the colors of those borders as well. So cell borders and fill colors allows you to create very clear and defined boundaries between different sections of a worksheet so that you can quickly find the data that you need. So in our example, we're going to add cell borders and fill color to our header cells. So the row that's directly below our title, and that will help us distinguish our header cells from the actual data and the rest of the worksheet. So to add a fill color, you are going to select the cells that you want to modify. And in this case, we are selecting all of row 2. So we can just come over to 2, we can click it, and we can select that whole cell, or you can copy, click and drag over the cells that you want. And then we are going to go up to our Home tab, and we are going to click on the drop-down arrow next to the Fill Color command, which is the paint bucket. And we are going to select whatever color we want. In our example, we'll choose a dark gray. It can be the darkest one here, or it can be any of these gray tones. Once you have done that, you will see that that whole header row is now filled with this dark gray color. We've also changed the font color in this case to white so that it's more readable against the dark fill color. So you can go ahead and, in addition to putting in that fill color, go ahead and change the font color to white. If you want to add a border, you need to select the cells that you want to modify. So in this case, we have selected all of row 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we've selected all of the data that's in there, and we are going to go back up to our Home tab, and we are going to click the drop-down arrow next to the Borders command. So that's right next to the paint bucket, right next to there is our borders, and we are going to select all borders, and that will add borders to all of our cells. There are a lot of other options though with borders. You can just do it on the top of the cell, the bottom of the cell. You can also change the thickness or the style of the borders. So play around with that, see what options that you have within borders. You also can draw borders. So you may find it easier if you only want a border in certain cells to use the draw border option. And that is at the bottom of the borders drop-down menu. So you go to your borders where we just were, you click on the down arrow, and then at the bottom you will find this option of draw borders, and you can erase, draw, you can change the color, you can change the line style, and you can find other options. So just remember that if you're unfamiliar with that, you haven't used that in Word or PowerPoint before, you're not just stuck with standard 1-point black lines. And that actually is true for Word and PowerPoint as well. So that's all you kind of on your own designing what you want your cells to be formatted like. You also can use pre-designed cell styles. So Excel has certain cell styles that they've pre-worked up so that it's quicker to apply professional formatting to different parts of your workbook, such as titles and headers. So to apply a cell style, you will select whichever part of your worksheet you want to apply that to. So in our example, we are going to apply a new cell style to our existing title and our header cells. So we've changed our title to pink in a different font style. We've changed our header cells. Now we're going to change them to a predetermined or a pre-formatted style that Excel provides for us. So again, select the cells that you want to modify, and in this case, it's these top 2 rows. To use a pre-formatted style, you will go up into your Home menu, and you will find this option that says Cell Styles on it. You will click that, and then you'll choose whatever desired style you want from the drop-down menu. And then that style will be applied and will appear. So in this particular case, it looks like I have selected heading 1, 40% accent 1. But whatever it is that you choose, it will replace any existing cell formatting except for text alignment. So if you've already centered some font or some text within a cell, or right justified or less justified, it won't change that, but it will change font style, font color, font size, cells, borders, all of that. You may not want to actually use cell styles if you've already added a lot of your own personalized formatting to the workbook, because it will override all that. Or you might want to start your workbook by using one of these predetermined cell styles and then modifying it as you need to as you go. But you can see here what this has done is it has changed all of your cell style, your cell fill to be this light blue color. All right, so as far as text alignment is concerned, you will want to be comfortable with text alignment. You will need to use it quite a bit in this class, but it will also just really clean up and polish worksheets that you're developing in the future. So by default in Excel, any text that you enter into a worksheet, into a cell, is going to be aligned into the bottom left of the cell. So you can see that here. We have a cell here. We've typed in first name, last name, email address. The cell itself is quite a bit larger than the text, but it has put by default all of it down into the bottom left corner of that cell. You can then change the alignment of your cell content so that it can be centered in a variety of different ways, or it can be right justified, left justified. So when we talk about left align, all of the content is going to go to the left border of the cell. When we talk about center align, it's obviously going to be centered in the cell. And then if we talk about right align, it goes to the right border of the cell. So we have left align, we have center align, and then we have right align. Important kind of to know those terminologies, that terminology. So the other thing that you can do with your alignment is you can change where it's positioned within the cell in terms of top, middle, and bottom of the cell. So in this particular case, we have a top alignment, here we have a center alignment, and here we have a bottom alignment. It's just going to vary on which one you use, on circumstances and other content that you have within your spreadsheet. So if you want to do this, you actually want to change the horizontal text alignment. In this case, in our example below, we're going to modify the alignment of our title cell, so the fitness progress chart, just to create a little bit more of a polished look and to further distinguish it from the rest of the worksheet. So we have to select the cell we want to modify, which is the fitness progress chart. We're going to select that cell, and then we need to change our alignment. And so when you go up into your home tab, there will be 6 different options for alignment. The bottom of these rows, which we're using, of these options, which we're using right now, is going to change it from being left, center, and right aligned. The top here is what changes it from being top, middle, and bottom. So 2 different options that do 2 different things. In our example, we want to choose center align. So we want to move fitness program chart to the center of the cell. And so we're going to click center, and has moved fitness progress chart to the center. The other thing, though, that we want to be aware of is how it's aligned vertically within the cell. So right now, by default, it is at the very bottom of the cell, which you can't really tell very much right now because the font is fairly large. But generally what I do is I try to remember to change the default to be in the middle of the cell. So I've selected fitness progress chart, or it's already selected, and then I'm going to go to these vertical alignment options up here, and I'm going to select vertical. There's times where, or middle, sorry. There's times when I might want bottom or top, but for the most part I usually use middle align. You can apply both vertical and horizontal alignment settings to any cell within your spreadsheet, and you should get in the habit and practice of doing that. Okay, so those are some basic notes about how to change some really basic formatting. Honestly, a lot of this is probably review for you because you know how to do this in Word and you know how to do this in PowerPoint. So at this point, you can stop the slides and then you can go into Canvas and you can open up, if you have to open it up, if you haven't been clicking along, Excel Lesson 3 Practice Workbook. If you're already in there, just switch over to the Assessment tab. If you aren't already in there, make sure you are working in the Assessment tab and not in the Practice tab. And then go into Canvas and find Lesson 3, and there's instructions on things that you need to do to show that you've completed this lesson. And when you are done, you will go ahead and save your workbook and you will upload it to the Lesson 3 portal.